Alright, hey guys, my name's Lexi, I'm 21, and I'm a creative writing major. Um, and you would think that would mean that I'm really good at writing stuff, but I'm not. So formal essays really aren't something I'm great at, and therefore I apologize if this presentation of my research paper goes poorly. But I'm hoping that parts of this will be able to capture your interest. And I look forward to any constructive criticism or feedback you guys want to give me. That would be much appreciated. So my presentation is on masks, how they're used in acting, from earliest times where they came about with theater and ritual, all the way to modern connections. So I hope you guys enjoy what I have to offer. Also, disclaimer: I was going to make some Greek masks, a new comedy and an ancient 5th BC tragedy mask, and a literal tragedy happened when I dropped the platter holding my masks, right? And they were hardened, baked red clay, and they kind of just like broke. So I don't really have visuals. Oh, here, wait, I have an idea. Okay, I just want to start off first of all by talking about something I'm sure we're all well aware of, and that is the superhero industry and how it's literally everywhere. And I myself have never seen the Avengers or anything, any of the solo movies. I haven't seen Iron Man and stuff like that. But they're everywhere. Superheroes are everywhere, and with superheroes like Spider-Man and Captain America and the Flash, it's easy for identity to be kept secret. And that is because the heroes have this added comfort of a mask that keeps their true person away from public eye, lets them lead normal lives, and, at the same time, fight crime. So, not only do, heroes kind of don themselves in the mask, but the actors now that play these heroes do as well. And perhaps the mask is less noticeable, such as an actor playing a character who wears glasses when the actor themselves does not. Or, wearing a layer of makeup and special effects in order to capture kind of a zombie-esque appearance when clearly the actor is not a zombie. And so, I guess even if we were to step outside of, the world of theater and film, we can see that people employ masks in everyday life in our society. One example I could think of is unfortunately criminals. We have criminals donning ski masks, scream faces, anything they can to hide their appearance and their true identity. Kind of creates an entirely different person, dissociates them from any involvement of crime. And, less morbid, we do have Halloween, and kids on Halloween looking to have the best costume and, just be someone else for a day. So this concept of a mask as being this construct able to switch identities is a powerful one, and it derives from the earliest of times, back with ancient ceremony and ritual, which is therefore alongside the emergence of theater. So these masks, as I've already given examples of, will stay prevalent and have stayed prevalent up until this time. As I've said, masks were, said to be born out of theater, and theater is said to have been born out of ritual. There's been conclusive proof showing that even as far back as 20,000 years ago, ritual, and therefore theater, has been around and performed. So some of these basic rituals could involve anything from simple oral storytelling or massive ceremonies dedicated to deities and gods, and lots of singing, dancing, festivities. Now, in our textbook, History of Theater, Oscar Brockett writes that performers in these rituals would wear costumes and masks to represent the mythical creatures or supernatural forces in the rituals or in their accompanying celebrations. So this shows us that even before the emergence of written and performed plays such as Greek theater, tragedy, comedy, masks were still a major part of conveying meaning and story when it came to ritual, and still a major part of taking on another role. But moving forward from that, we get into the Greeks, who are the ones who really sort of captured the essence of the mask by using them in their plays. So in 5th century Greece, before Aeschylus introduced a second actor, masks were still an important part of switching character. And even after the introduction of the second actor, masks were still important. Because see, most of the time, actors, either one or two or three, would be required to play multiple characters, and the masks were designed in a way that they were distinguishable and representative of each character in the play. So if someone were to go on stage, they could wear a mask, be one character, come back 5 minutes later, different scene, different mask, different character. So this meant that the masks had to be very carefully constructed and molded, and that the actors had to be phenomenal at their jobs, because the actor's face was solely defined by the expression carved into the mask. Now, in his book, right, Masks in Acting, Jevons F.B. writes that tragedy could have never come into existence apart from representation and actors, and in Athens, the actors were masked. Masks and acting are essential to all three forms of the Greek drama. So this leads on to the construction and the appearance of the masks, because, as it said, that's it. You don't have the face of the actor, you just have the face of this mask, and that is made to control sort of all the visual emotion that you can see in the play. In his book, The Masks of Menander, David Wiles writes that in classical tragedy, the mask was nothing more than a neutral, better-than-average face. So this is to say that the masks then were simply carved eye holes, a carved mouth hole, and very little to no expression. The masks were just made to, I guess, show change in character, but the expressions very little to none. As the years go on, however, we get the emergence of new comedy, and comedy in general. And when that's introduced, the masks begin to seem more intricate. In her article, The Masks of Orthia, Jane Burke Harder writes that she has a different experience of viewing masks. She states that almost all the terracotta masks can be assigned to two types: grotesquely furrowed demons and idolized heroes. So this shows that the masks have developed over time to a point where not only do they show change in character, but now they show a change in emotion from one mask to the next. And I know I've already cited David Wiles, but he wrote a different book and a different article, and he goes on to describe, this idea of comedy changing the form of masks. And he says that the principles of the expressive mask, which is the mask with emotion and passion behind it, is directly relevant to comedy, where the distortions of the face encourage the actor to develop distorted patterns of movement. In this way, we begin to understand that the more expressive and intricate the masks, the more comedic and lighthearted the play. So we have tragedy, where it all started, in Greece, 5th century tragedy. And it's bland. The masks are there for show. They're there to show that there's a difference in character. But the main source of emotion that comes from the actor in 5th century tragedy comes from the voice infliction. You can't really see much in the way of masks, because they're nothing more than the better-than-average neutral face. And then we move forward into comedy and new comedy, where the masks have become these kind of hilariously disproportionate faces with over-exaggerated frown lines, smiles, wrinkles, anything you could think of, to kind of get across the point that this is a comedy, this is, an expression that needs to be viewed, and it needs to be over-dramatized because that's the point of the play. The way that masks were created back in ancient Greece, 5th century BC, were wood, linens, stuff like that deteriorated very easily. However, very intricately done. They would, carve in the eye holes in the mouth. In Greek tragedy, it wasn't very expressive. However, they could add hair out of linens, eyebrows, beards, anything they could, they would carve or add on. So while there wasn't a whole lot of detail and expression and emotion, there was extra amount of detail in the creation of the face itself. Facial features such as depth of eyes, eyebrows, where the nose is in relation to the mouth, stuff like that. Which is still pretty advanced for the time, given that they're trying to show as little expression as possible, but still willing to carve that much detail into their masks. Moving forward, in today, not just theater today, but today's actors in general, both on screen and on stage, masks are used little to none. Now, as I said, with superhero films, characters may wear masks, but the actors themselves do not. So the expression of the actual human face is glorified nowadays, and the audience finds more of a connection with the actor through this method than they did in ancient Greece when they were looking at masks. So, like, while we do, like I said, have the Avengers flying around and doing whatever it is that they do, I don't know. We have to keep in mind that it's the character themselves that has the superhero mask. It's the character that wears the mask. It is not the actor that wears the mask. So much has changed from masks as they were worn in theater to now where they're not. And then again, beyond masks, much have changed. You know, the entire casting system, it's incredibly rare now to find one actor in both play and on screen that plays multiple characters in their role. So it's kind of evolved to a point where masks are now almost not needed. We don't need to show over-exaggerated emotion because we have the human face. We don't need to show multiple characters played by one actor because we have multiple actors playing respective characters. We can't forget, though, that the mask was created to hide the face of the actor while still showing the expression of a character. And while it may not be entirely employed in the arts these days, they're still used by people to this day, and they're still largely important. And this makes masks and their design and their purpose incredibly powerful as they give birth to an entire genre of theater and acting that has led us to the theater and acting of our time. While we could all be really, really thankful that, the cast of like Grey's Anatomy and Pretty Little Liars or Jurassic World, whatever we're watching, we could be happy that the actors aren't hiding their like precious little faces that we find so incredibly attractive. So we should be really thankful that they're not wearing masks, but we cannot forget where we've come from, and where we started with acting was with the usage of the mask. This was the thing that people wanted to see, was they wanted to go to the theater and they wanted to see masks. They wanted to see that this actor was not this person that they may have known or heard of. They wanted to see that it was a character. Well, I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Like I said, any feedback you could give me is mucho appreciated. I hope you guys are all having good summers and that we've all had fun with this class, because I know I have. So yeah, thanks for watching.